everyone, and welcome to the TKN Leadership Podcast, where we are here to help you take your leadership to the next level. As you all know, we typically interview phenomenal leaders to give you insight into your leadership journey, but this month is different. This month, we want to give you a peek into our ongoing leadership roundtables. The roundtables are a monthly gathering where leaders sit together, learn, and get actionable lessons to return to their leadership context. So this week, we want to share with you the teaching from our roundtable on goals. Here is Reverend Dr. Daryl Williams' presentation on making smart goals. Enjoy.
Tonight, we're going to be talking about going for the goals. If you're a leader, you have some goals. All of us as leaders have goals. And at the top of the year, we are typically looking for ways to achieve our goals. What are we going to do this year? What are we going to get accomplished? What are we going to move forward? What are we going to have happen? Listen, Tony Robbins says this, and I think it's very poignant. Setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. When we set a goal, it gives us the ability to take dreams toward and into reality. But here's the challenge. Most of us set goals, but 90% of people don't achieve their goals. If you think about it, goals are very much like New Year's resolutions. We start out with great intents. We start out with big plans, big ideas, big things that we want to do. And then somehow we get adrift. Somehow we never quite get it. And then we wind up setting the same goals over and over again. I want you to understand, we want you to be able to set good goals that you can achieve. This year, your goals should be met so that you can supply yourself with new goals for next year and continue to move yourself, your team, and whatever you're leading forward. But that starts with knowing where you're trying to get to, knowing what your goal is. A goal simply is the object of a person's ambition or effort. It's an aim or a desired result. When we put a goal together, it's what we're going to put our energy into. It's what we're going to put our force into. It's what we're going to put our life into, what we're going to put our strength into, what we're going to put our thought into. So the question that I have to ask you is simply this. Have you made goals so that you're pointing yourself in the direction of where you want to be? Pointing yourself in the direction of what you want to achieve. Pointing yourself in the direction of the better preferred future that you are setting out to get to. But here's the challenge. Everybody has goals, but do you have the right goals? Some of the reasons that people don't achieve their goals is that they have the wrong goals. Sometimes we set out with a goal and it's just not the right goal. It's not what we should be doing. It's not what we're supposed to be doing. It's not something that we can do. So you have to make sure that you've got the right goal. But secondly, make sure, and this is important, that it's your goal. One of the reasons people don't achieve their goals is because it's a goal that they have for somebody else. It's a goal that somebody else has put on them, or it's a goal that they think they should have. Let's be very clear. If it is not your goal, you won't take ownership of it. You won't put your energy into it. You won't put your best into it. So to have a good goal, a goal that you're going to achieve, it has to be the right goal. It has to be your goal. But here's number 3. If you're going to have a good goal, you've got to have a plan to achieve it. At the end of the day, if you don't have a plan to achieve your goal will never be met. If you haven't put together a structure, if you haven't put together steps, if you haven't put together the real pieces to move from the vision you have, from the thoughts you have, into the reality that you want, then you're unlikely to achieve your goal. And last but not least, if you're going to achieve your goal, if you're going to go for your goal, you got to go for your goal. What does that mean? You got to take action. Your goals should be so important to you that every day you get up trying to get a little bit closer to it. Every day you get up and you start trying to do something that moves you further, something that moves you closer, something that moves your goal from being a dream into a reality. That's why it's got to be personal. That's why you've got to own it. That's why you've got to want it. Because if you're going to achieve it, you're going to have to put effort into it every day. See, here's the challenge. When we have a goal that we're excited about, we show up for it. When we have a goal that we're excited about, we put effort into it. But here's the issue. When you don't put effort into it continually, the goal begins to drift. it begins to seem not as important. Let's be honest. Other things begin to stand in its way. Other things begin to move in its place. Your big goals, your real desired outcomes have to be things that are so important to you that you're willing to take action and stay invested every day. But to do that, you need a plan. You got to have a plan to win. You need a plan if you're going to achieve your goals. You have to put things together that let you say, this is what I'm going to do. But that starts with, watch this, owning your goal. Ownership is incredibly important if you're going to have a goal. Because if you're going to have a goal, you got to have the right goals, and the right goal starts with ownership. And you got to ask yourself, if I'm going to put my effort into this, if I'm going to put my focus into this, is this the right goal? Now, how do you know if it's the right goal? These are 3 things you got to know if it's the right goal. Number 1, is it important? Number 2, does it move you or what you're leading forward? And number 3, is it something that has to be done? Has to be done means, do you have a passion for that goal? To own it, you've got to have passion for it. To own it, you've got to have blood in it. You got to have, as we used to say, skin in the game. You got to make sure it's the right goal. But here's the second thing. There are plenty of right goals. Here's the second thing to making sure that you're going for the goals. Is this your goal? Should this be what you are working on? All of us are leaders. All of us are leading something. You wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be watching. You wouldn't be listening if you weren't a leader. Here's the thing about leaders. Leaders have to be able to say 2 things, yes and no. And too many times what stops us from getting to our goals is that we're saying too many yeses when we should be saying more no's. And to do that, you got to look at the goal and say, should this be my goal? Does this move us forward? Does this make progress? Is this something that we're passionate about? Is this something that changes things, or are we just spinning our wheels? The real thing with goals is that they have to make a difference. If the goal doesn't make a difference, you'll never be inspired. You'll never own it. You'll never work towards it. You'll never work in it. So the question is, 1, is it the right goal? 2, should this be my goal? And here's number 3 that gets you to your yes or your no. Is there anyone else who can do this goal? Is there anyone else that I can empower to do this? Is there anyone else who I can release to do this? Is there someone else that this should be their goal in the fact that they love this? They want to own this. They want to do this. They are passionate about it. Leadership means not just defining your goals, but helping other people define their goals so that everything comes together. Whether you're leading a church, whether you're leading a business, whether you're leading a family, everybody's got to be on the same page and accomplishing their goals. Goals are what move organizations forward. If you don't have a goal, you'll be stuck where you are. If you think about it, it's like football. There's always a line to gain. There's always a goal to gain. It's 1st and 10. It's 3rd and 3. You're always knowing where you're trying to get to and how you're trying to get there. And everybody on the team has their thing. Here's the thing. Unless you're Lamar Jackson, you cannot throw a pass and catch it and run. I've only seen one person do that, and that's Lamar Jackson. Everybody else has a quarterback that throws, linemen who block, receivers who catch, running backs who run. You've got to make sure that everybody is putting their passion, their energy, and their skill towards goals that are meaningful to them and goals that they want to achieve and can achieve that move everything forward. Because the truth of the matter is, you got to have the right goal because you only have so much time. We all have 24 hours in a day, 168 hours in a week. That's all we have. And if you've only got so much time, you've got to make sure that your goals are the things that you need to be working on. Your goals are the things that you need to be spending your time on. Your goals are the things that move everything forward. Because your time is your most precious commodity. You will not get time back. An hour that you spend on something that's unimportant is an hour that you lost on something that is important. An hour you spend on something that moves the ball forward is an hour that you didn't spend on something that just has you spinning your wheels. You've got to make sure that you're using your time wisely so that you've got the right goals and you're making the right moves to move towards those goals. And when it's your goal, you know that you're making progress. When it's your goal, you know that that you're moving the ball forward. So you've got to have the right goals so that you're using your time properly, and if it's the wrong goal but it's a necessary goal, you've got to empower others to do it. Like I said, as leaders, we have to know what to say no to. We have to know when we need to let someone else carry the ball. Too many of us, we feel like if I don't do it, it won't get done. If I don't do it, it won't get done right. Empowering others to achieve goals means that, yes, you may have to do some training. Yes, you may have to do some monitoring. But here's the thing. Once you've done some training, once you've done some monitoring, once you've set some standards, now you can pass that off to somebody else. Now, here's the thing I want to tell you. Make sure you write this down. Once you pass it off, don't pick it back up. Many of us as leaders, we pass things off and then we miss them. We miss doing it. We miss being involved. Here's the thing. When you set goals, you have to concentrate on your goals and let other people concentrate on their goals. You have to be willing to empower and trust others so that they can do their part, you can do your part, and everything can move forward. Do you hear what I'm saying? You got to have the right goals. They've got to be set up well. They've got to have ownership, and you've got to empower others so that they're reaching their goals too, which is what moves your church, your organization, your family. Whatever you're leading, that's how you go for the goals to move them forward. But to do all that, like I said, you've got to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you just have a wish or a dream. So tonight, we want to talk about what we're calling SMART. Oops, hold on one second. Here we go. We want to talk about what we're calling SMART goals. Now, what is a SMART goal? It doesn't mean that a SMART goal is better than anybody else, better than any other goals. We don't want any goals to have low self-esteem. All goals should be SMART goals. And if there's SMART goals, let me show you what a SMART goal is. SMART is an acronym. For a goal to be SMART, it has to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time limited. We want to do SMART goals, goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time defined. Now, this is what you have to understand. The reason you want to do this for all your goals is because you're going to have big goals and you're going to have small goals. And SMART gives you a plan for moving any goal forward. To make sure that you're doing the right goals, you're going to have to understand that sometimes your big goal is going to have to be broken down into a lot of smaller goals. Many times, where we run into trouble with goals is that we've made them too big. Our goal is to change the world. Well, how are you going to do that? You know, how much are you going to do? How much can you do? So you've got to figure out what your big goal is. And for that big goal, you're going to have smaller goals underneath that make this large goal come to life. But every goal needs to be SMART. So we're going to start off with a goal being specific. Your goals have to start off by being specific. They need to be clearly defined and identified. Here's the question that you got to ask. The first thing for every goal, what exactly are we trying to achieve? What exactly are we trying to do? Many times, our goals fall apart because they're just too broad. Our goals can have us running here, everywhere. We're running everywhere because the goal is too broad. And here's the challenge with a goal that's too broad. If your goal is too broad, you will not know if you're making progress. Because without a specific goal, what you won't know is if you've made it to your goal. And worse yet, you'll be able to trick yourself into thinking that you did because you never were specific enough to define the win. There should be an outcome that you can see, that you can touch, that you can explain for your specific goals. They have to be so specific that you can give details of what it looks like, details of where it is. Let me give you a biblical example. If you think about the children of Israel, when they left Egypt and went into the wilderness, if their only goal was freedom, they were free in the wilderness. But the promise of God was a promised land, a land that, remember the quote, was flowing with milk and honey. So they had to know when they were in the wilderness and when they had arrived. Your goals have to be specific enough that you can say, this is the wilderness, this is arrival, and this is the land in between. And here's the thing. In the land in between, you don't want to be sucked in to settling for something different than what you said. What a specific goal allows you to do is to know where you are. When you have a specific goal, you know whether you've made it or not. You know whether you're right or not. You know whether you've arrived or not. You know how much more time you have to put in. You know how much more you have to do. You know whether this is it or whether we keep looking and keep moving. So the first thing you've got to do for your big goal and then any goals underneath is make them specific. What is the exact outcome that we're looking for? What is the exact thing we're trying to do? But once you've made it specific, you've got to make it measurable. You have to make it measurable. Is your goal measurable? Can you say what this is? And here's the challenge with a measurable goal. For a measurable goal, you have to be able to put criteria to it. Along with criteria, you have to be able to put a measurement. Let me show you what this looks like. Say your goal is to lose weight. The goal of losing weight is very good. The problem with the goal of losing weight is that it is not specific enough. Yeah, you're going to lose weight, but how much weight are you going to lose? What is your end goal? What is the poundage you're trying to get to? So you have to start by knowing where you are so that you can know where you're going, and then it has to be measurable. The reason it has to be specific is your goal can't be to lose weight. Your goal is to lose 20 pounds. That's your goal. So if your goal is to lose 20 pounds, then the criteria that you have is that I'm losing pounds. And that can be measured on a scale. By knowing this, you have a criteria, you have a measurement, and you have a tool to measure by. You want to be able to say, I'm making progress. The challenge with achieving a goal is if you can't measure it, you don't know if you're making progress. You don't know if you're going in the right direction or the wrong direction. And measurable allows you, watch this, to change course while you're working. If something that you're doing is not moving you towards your specific goal because you have specific criteria and a tool for measurement, then you can say we need to change what we're doing to move to where we're trying to get to. We need to change what we're doing so we can move in the right direction because we're going in the wrong direction. Which means that if it's measurable, you have to, from time to time, review. You want to review what's going on along the way. Be very clear. A goal that you don't review along the way allows you to trick yourself into believing that you're making more progress or less progress than you should be. But if you're reviewing and you're reviewing every measurement by the same tool, you always know, am I moving forward? Am I moving in the right direction? Am I getting done what I'm trying to get done? So remember, the first thing in a SMART goal, it's got to be specific. What exactly are we trying to do? Second thing, it's got to be measurable. How do we measure if we're making progress? How do we measure where we start, where we're going to end, and what are the increments in between so that we're measuring along the way to get to where we're trying to get to? Now, here's the next one. The A is that it has to be, let's go all the way back to the beginning because I want you to see how these come together. You started off with a goal, it was specific, it was measurable, now it's got to be attainable. It's got to be attainable. Is this something that we can actually do? Is this something that we can attain? Here's the challenge. Sometimes the challenge with our goal is that it just can't be done. Sometimes there's a reason that something hasn't been done or a reason that it can't be done. To find out if it's a good goal and to give you a plan to move forward, you're specific, you're measured. Now, is this attainable? Now, it doesn't mean that it's not attainable ever. The question, and we're going to get deeper into this when we go into the R and the T, you have to decide, is it attainable now? You see, here's the thing. If you've got goals, you've got to know, is this the goal that we can attain now? And by now, I don't mean immediately. I mean in a specific amount of time, in the time that we have. In this season, is this attainable? For instance, I have a goal of running a marathon. I want to run a marathon before the Lord calls me home. Here's the problem. While that is a goal for me, it doesn't pass the SMART test because I work full-time, I'm a husband, and I'm a father of a young child, which means I don't have the time that would be required to train for a marathon. So I know a specific goal. I want to run in the New York Marathon. Now, is that measurable? Absolutely. I need to be able to run 26 miles. And from couch potato to 26 miles is a long way, but I can measure how far I'm running. Is it attainable? No. Because I don't have the time to do the training that would allow me to get to the specific measurable goal. So it can be done, it just can't be done now, which means that it's not a what? Because we talked about this from the beginning, it's not a good goal. It can be a goal. It's just not a good goal for me right now. So you have to look at your goals. Are they attainable? Is this something that we can do? Is this something that we can do right now? Is this something we should do right now? Is this something that we will have to move too many things that are more important to be able to do? Once you know that it's specific, it's measurable, and whether it's attainable, it gives you a way to evaluate, is this a good goal for me in this moment? If it's specific, if it's measurable, and it's attainable, now you got to move into the R, because you're crossing things off that get you to the plan that allow you to see the goal. But now the next one, is it relevant? The goal has to be relevant. Does this make sense for what you're ultimately trying to do? Does this move something forward, or does this move you closer to a desired end? Many of us, watch this, we get goal happy, so we start blowing out goals that don't matter. If it doesn't matter, it's not worth your time. You're a leader. You've only got so much time, and you've got plenty to do. Every leader has plenty to do. Every leader should have more to do than they have time for, which is why they have to prioritize things. And here's the thing, if it's specific, measurable, and you can do it, does it matter? Is it relevant to what you're trying to do? Is it relevant to who you're trying to be? Is it relevant to the grand scheme of things at your church? Is it relevant to the things in your business? Is this relevant? Does it move your focus from the things that matter to things that don't matter? If it moves your focus from things that matter to things that don't matter, then it's a bad goal because it doesn't move the ball forward. Your goal has to matter to two folks. It has to matter to you, and it has to matter to your organization. For a goal to matter, it has to matter to you as the leader, and it has to matter to the organization that you run. It has to matter to what you're leading. It should be taking you somewhere. It should be taking you towards something. So if it's not relevant, that means it doesn't matter because it's making you lose focus on what's really important. So to evaluate a goal, to make it smart, it's got to be specific. What is it? It's got to be measurable. How do we know if we're making progress? It's got to be attainable. Is this something for us to do right now? Is it relevant? In this season, is it relevant to the whole? Because here's the thing. If you have too many people working on a bunch of things that don't move the ball forward, then everybody may be happy, but you'll never make progress. Everybody may be happy, but remember, we are going for goals. And goals have to be interconnected. They have to be connected to the purpose of what you're doing. They have to be connected to who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and here's the last one, which may be the most important. Time bound. Your goal has to be time bound, which is simply answering this question when you come up with the goal. When will this be done by? If you do not put an end date on it, it is a recipe for disaster. You'll be working on that goal forever and you'll never achieve it because you haven't told yourself when you were going to do it by. You haven't told yourself when it was going to get done. You've just said, this is what we're going to do, and what we're going to do, we're just going to do it until we do it, until we do it, until we do it. How many times have you been a part of something that fell apart while you were still working on it because you just kept working and kept working, but you were able to put it to the side because something else came up. You were able to put it to the side because something else came up. Remember, I told you, when you're selecting your goals, they have to matter to you. They have to be important. You have to have ownership, which means that if you're going to have a goal, the T is time bound, which means you have to answer the question, by when? By when will we get this done? By when will this happen? By when will we be through? If you have a by when, you now have all of the makings of a SMART goal. It's specific. This is what we're going to do. It's measurable. This is how much we're going to do. It's attainable. This is right now, we're going to do it this way. It's relevant. This is why I'm doing this, and it's time sensitive. By when? This is what you have to do. When you write out your goals, this is the formula I want you to write out. I will, or we will, SMART, the S, do exactly this. Measurable. We're going to do it to this much. Attainable, but it's attainable in this amount of time because we're focusing on it and doing this thing because it's important to this. That's your R, your relevant, and your T is by when. That is your SMART goal. Now listen, I know I put all of this on a vibe board. You're kind of like, wow, I wish I had that. If you have registered for this, we are going to send you the slides so that you can review all of this. We want you to be able to ingrain this in yourself, and we want you to be able to ingrain this in your team. We want you to be able to ingrain this in your organization. So if you're going to go for the goals, you got to have a big goal that works. And then you got to break that big goal down into smaller goals. And each of those goals has to be SMART. Because if the big goal is SMART and all the little goals are SMART, you will reach your goal. And what we don't want to do is have another year when we didn't get anything done. We want to make sure that we have a plan, that we have a procedure, that we have a way to make sure that we are smart about our goals so that we can achieve all of our goals.
We so thank you for your time and your effort, your attention, just being with us this evening for our TKN Leadership Roundtable. We want to thank Dr. Daryl Williams for being our host this evening, for sharing Go for the Goals. We want to thank our crew. And listen, keep the development going. So we have our TKN Leadership Academy. If you're not familiar with us, we ask that you check us out online. We'll send up a follow-up email. We'll share more information with you. And if you haven't already registered, know that the Summit 2024 is coming. November 12th through the 14th, 2024. We will do it once again. This will be year 3. You know, great things come in threes. So it is exciting. We're so, again, thankful to have you. And I'm going to ask Dr. Daryl just to pray us out for the evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mann, and thank you all for joining us. Listen, you made the right step by being here tonight, and I hope that we gave you actionable information that will move your leadership forward and that will move you forward. Again, we know your time is precious. We thank you for joining us. Let's pray, and then we'll be going for the day. Father in heaven, we thank you. We thank you that you put work in our hands. We thank you that you've given us dreams, that you've given us visions. And with those dreams and visions, we translate them to goals. So God, give us important work to do. Give us things to set our hands to set our minds to set our efforts to. And then God, help us to stay focused on those goals, focused on the work at hand, so that we can move it forward to see the world that you would have us to see. We want to see your kingdom come, one mission, one goal, one person, one movement at a time. So God, we thank you for what you've done for us. Now strengthen our hands. Strengthen our hands so that we can do the work. Strengthen our minds so that we can stay focused. And strengthen our bodies so that we can go on. Dear God, help us lead better so we can lead towards you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you at the next TKN Roundtable.